Behind the Mirror of Music with Dannii Cohen.
Hello, and welcome to Behind the Mirror of Music. My name is Dannii Cohen. This week's guest is Steve Blanchard. Steve Blanchard performed the role of the Beast in Beauty and the Beast on Broadway for 8 years, following a previous run as Gaston. Steve also performed the role of the Phantom in Ken Hale's The Phantom of the Opera for over 3 years and starred as the creature in the off-Broadway production of Frankenstein, a new musical, and the Grinch in Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Next to these roles, he also starred in Camelot, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, Newsies, Chess, The Little House on the Prairie, the musical, and much more. I hope you will enjoy the show.
Hi, Dannii. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. I
And
am absolutely fantastic. Yay.
what are you doing right now in your life and career?
I am semi-retired. My wife and I moved from New York City during COVID to South Carolina. And I still do a little television and film here and there, but yeah, for the most part, semi-retired.
How did your love for acting and music start?
Well, I was a very bad outside linebacker in American football. That's probably how it started. I was always cutting up in English class, and someone dropped out of a play. They were doing Our Town in high school, and someone dropped out of the play, and my English teacher recommended me because I was such a ham in her English class, and that's how it began. My first play was Our Town in 1973, and that was my sophomore year in high school. And I guess it was my next year, junior year. Um, I just decided this is it. This is my calling. And I knew at that point in my life, even as a junior in high school, that no one or no thing was going to stop me from doing what I wanted to do. And that's it.
Wonderful. Did you start to take classes somewhere for singing, acting?
Not till later. I grew up listening to records in my bedroom, and my mom liked Robert Goulet, and I liked Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin. So I think between the two, I developed a style that became my own. And then I started singing when I was a senior in high school, I guess. Sang with the high school band, and then started doing musicals and things like that.
What was your first professional role?
Well, what do you mean by professional?
Paid theater production.
Paid to see and paid to
Yes.
do.
Yes.
It was in 1977. I think I made $100, and it was for a production of Godspell in Maryland. So
Mm.
how's that?
The wonderful show.
It is. It
Yes.
is.
Which role did you play?
John the Baptist and Judas. Yeah,
It's a
that's
big
how it
role.
started. My Godspell journey. I think I did the show about 9 times. A couple of Jesuses and a couple John the Baptists, and I directed it a couple of times too.
And you performed the role of the Beast on Broadway for about 8 years. How was your time in the show?
That was fantastic. It was obviously something that I'm probably most known for. It was a delectable journey. I'll put it that way. It was a joy to do every night, and even on those nights where you didn't want to do it because your back's hurting or you've got terrible allergies, whatever, you're as sick as a dog, and you went out there, and the story is so beautiful that you were immediately sucked into it as soon as you got out there. It was a joy to do every night. even when you weren't feeling well.
You're both Gaston first and then the Beast, I believe.
I actually was a standby for both first. I began a standby for anyone out there in the audience is a principal actor who literally stands by for a principal role. It's not an understudy where you're in the ensemble and you cover somebody. It's a standby position where you wait to see if they're sick, and if they're not sick, you can usually go home or do something else. So I began my beauty career as a standby for both the Beast and Gaston. Then they shipped me up to Toronto to play the Beast in the Toronto company, brought me back down to the New York company where I began playing Gaston for about a year and a half or so. And then eventually they offered me the Beast, and that was the rest of my 8 years there.
And how did you create a Beast for the role of the Beast for yourself? How did you see his character?
It's a great character. And it's much the same as the Phantom or the Grinch or the Creature. It's this beautiful, delicate soul within a hideous facade. So it was very easy to play all those parts because it's something I identified with very much so. Not that I feel like I have a hideous, facade, but it was once you cracked that formula, it was really easy to play. And also, I got the chance to watch several Beasts before me, and I picked and chose what I wanted to do and not do.
Talking about the Phantom, you were 3 years at Ken Hill's Phantom, I believe.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a version most people don't know much about. How was this story different from Andrew Lloyd Webber's, and how was this Phantom to play for you?
First of all, the story is the same. When we were in rehearsal, Ken told us a little story about how it began. I did it in 1989 through 92. I'm sorry. Yeah, 89 through 92. And in rehearsals, Ken told us about how the whole Cameron Mackintosh, Andrew Lloyd Webber thing went down. According to Ken, it was in London. It was playing in London in the early 80s and was a moderately successful show. And one night, Andrew Lloyd Webber and Ken Hill came to see the show, loved the show, and Cameron Mackintosh wanted to make it a bigger production and explained this to Ken and said that Andrew would, of course, write the music because the music in the show is all standard opera arias, okay? So they were going to rework the show, make it a bigger show, expand it, and Andrew would write original numbers. And so they had a handshake deal, and Ken Hill wrote all of his script treatments and all of his notes to enlarge the show, gave it to the boys, and never heard from him again. So that was the origin of that story. And then, of course, about 4 or 5 years later, Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom is the biggest show in the world. So we were able to tour at a time when the Phantom was the ticket to have. We toured in the late 80s, early 90s, and it was Phantom Mania, man. And one of the arias in the show was by a composer named Weber, Weber. So people became easily confused when they saw the show, and they kept wondering when Music of the Night was going to come on, But the show itself is like all of Ken's pieces. It's sort of a farce. He wrote so many of those. He wrote, a Wolf Man and an Invisible Man. I think he wrote a Dracula as well. But the story itself is the Gaston Leroux novel. It is that novel. It's just played a little bit to the edge, But as far as the Phantom goes, he was the straightest one in the play. He was straight and narrow. He was literally like the Gaston Leroux Phantom.
I think that the biggest difference with Ken Hill is that he kept the character of the Daroga, the Persian.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
A lot of people miss him in Weber's version.
Yeah, yeah, he's the kind of the hero of the second act.
How did you play the Phantom, and how did you see his character?
Yeah, I did it in San Francisco for about 6 months before we went on tour. So I was able to kind of use that time to explore different facets, and it's the same way as the Beast. You take these roles and you do them for a long time, and it's like peeling an onion. You're constantly peeling back a layer of the character, right? So you're always trying things and getting new ideas and peeling back another layer and another layer until you really get down to the nitty gritty and the heart of the character. Um, it was the first the first character, like I spoke of, that has that beautiful soul inside that they have no idea how to release it. They've been trapped in this either disfigurement or this facade for so long that they have no idea how to get out or how to change it, how to even begin. And then comes along some beautiful spirit who unlocks that for them. And that was the first of my many characters like that, and it was fun to play. It was really fun to play, and the onion thing cannot be overemphasized because that's part of it. You're constantly finding new facets to the character in a long run.
It also has the most beautiful well aria, really. That song "Never Forsake Me." Also,
Mm,
it's one of the in Faust is lovely, but the lyrics Ken Hill added are also wonderful.
hmm Yeah, did Ken write those lyrics? I can't remember whether he had a lyricist or not.
I can't either.
It's a beautiful song. Oh my God, it's a beautiful song. Yeah. And I've never been an opera guy, so I don't know, Faust from Tales from Hoffmann. I have no idea. But yeah, it's a beautiful song. Beautiful song.
He also created some original off-Broadway roles with Johnny Guitar and the creature in Frankenstein.
Correct.
I like to create roles. Be the
Hmm.
first to play them.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I mean, it's you start with a blank slate, right? It's like a painting, blank canvas, and you get to create different things. The Johnny Guitar was a B movie Western in the late 50s. Um, and it was Joan Crawford and Sterling Hayden played Johnny Guitar, and it's very much a kind of a gender bender where the Joan Crawford character is more of the leading man, and the man character, the Sterling Hayden Johnny Guitar, is sort of a rough and tumble, very silent cowboy type, but he is kind of reverse. He sings the torch song for her because he's desperately in love with her, and they can never seem to come together. But it's a great part. It's a great part. So I had lots of fun with that, and just underplaying it, constantly underplaying, so that the moments that truly work are when he sings this big beautiful torch song for Vienna, the Joan Crawford character. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and so I had a lot of reference for that. As far as Frankenstein, it was ill-timed because they were premiering at the same time that the Young Frankenstein was premiering on Broadway. So it was an absolute worst time we could have done it. But I simply went to the novel. I went to the source. I went to Mary Shelley's novel, and I researched the character that way. And if you're Mary Shelley, it is one of the most beautiful books you will ever read. She wrote it when she was, I think, 17 years old or 18 years old, something like that. And it is absolutely beautiful. And in that novel, the creature has all of these huge romantic, well-spoken speeches and dialogues that is just off the chart. But people don't think of that. They think of the 1931 Universal Boris Karloff Frankenstein with the green face, right?
Yes.
Flat top. And that's not what it is. So in creating that character, I pulled from different sources, and I tried to imagine waking up in a body that you don't recognize because it's not your body, right?
Yes.
And you can't remember who you are. And now everything is stitched together so tight that you're physically in a trap, and you're trying desperately to get out and try to move because everything doesn't work correctly. And then slowly, physically, you're able to work out the stitches, so to speak. But what if some of those body parts were somehow damaged? Like a limb was taken off from um, uh, someone with muscular dystrophy, or something was taken from someone who had autism, you know? And so I really tried to incorporate different things like that into the character to make it really complex and make it really believable that this person was actually stitched together from a bunch of parts in a graveyard, you know? Anyway, it was fun.
Such an interesting vision. It's a shame that the show was so ill-timed because it seems like would have been beautiful if more people had seen it or knew.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was. It was, I mean, it was fun. I mean, it was so physically and emotionally draining because we really worked in rehearsals with improvisation of villagers throwing stuff at me and saying the worst possible things they could ever say to me. Um, and by the end, by the time we finished, I really could not do it one more day. I was really done.
It must have been draining. I think most of these roles are truly draining because you have to give that emotion every night.
Yep, yep, yep.
And same as you said for the Grinch. When did you perform him?
I was the Grinch 2011, 12, and 13, 3 years in a row at the Old Globe in San Diego. That's where the show began in the late 80s, late 90s. The show began there as a project for Dr. Seuss, Ted Geisel, who lived in San Diego. And so the Old Globe got to do it every year, and it's a great story. Oh my God, it's a great story. But once again, same thing. Horrible, horrible, stuff going on here, but beautiful inside here. And it takes this little girl, this little Cindy Lou Who, to be the catalyst to open him up and allow him to be who he really is. That's a great story. Great story.
It's so amazing you get to play all these roles of these, well, basically trapped characters.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, it was fun. My body's kind of hurting now because there was so much physical beating and just absolute stunts and falls and leaps and jumps and all that kind of stuff. So arthritis has come to take a little visit to me lately. That's okay.
It must have been different for you because maybe you didn't know at the time to play the role in Camelot, being someone who's so confident about himself.
Hmm. Yep, yep.
Perhaps,
Camelot was really fun because I got to do it with the guy, the original. You know, the first day I did Camelot, very first day, we had a vocal rehearsal at 1 or something after I came back from lunch, and I walked into the room and Robert Goulet was sitting right there in a room. I thought, what the heck is he doing here? And I sang the songs, and he wasn't there to hear me. He was just there, eating his sandwich or something. And I came in and sang the songs, and he said to me, "Not bad, kid, not bad." And we became fast and furious friends. We played a ton of golf together, shared lots of adult beverages together. He was a really great guy, super guy. And so I can't complain, man. It was a wonderful time.
someone said of Lancelot that he was a sort of gentle version of Gaston.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I guess it could be that way. Yeah, yeah, sure, absolutely. He was kind of Gaston grown up. Yeah, yeah. That's another fascinating story. So I'm big on the research, all the characters. Um, and Lancelot de Lac, people don't realize that was a real dude. He was a real guy. He actually existed. He was part of that whole um, uh, um, Avalon line of descendants. I don't want to go too far into it, but he existed. He was Lancelot of the Lac. He was that Avalon, you know, whole thing. It was fascinating to research him a lot. I really dove into all these characters, and there's so much information out there that's at your fingertips. It's your privilege to do so. So you really have to get into it.
I love how these shows can sometimes teach you history or so many amazing facts you wouldn't have known without them.
Correct. Yeah. For instance, with Little House on the Prairie, I had no idea that they were even books, much less real people. And when I got the part, I started diving into the research and of course read all the books. And then I rode my Harley to all of the Ingalls homesteads all around the country and collected dirt and soil samples from the homesteads because Pa Ingalls was all about the land, the land, the land, the land. So when we toured, I took Pa Ingalls dirt with me wherever I went. It was really fun.
So wonderful if you research these roles because you get so many more layers to play with that people might not even know about, but they might be able to feel when they see the show.
Yep, 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 yep. It's your right and your privilege to do so. Every actor should always do so.
What are some of your other favorite roles?
Well, I was just about to say I did the same thing with Joseph Pulitzer in Newsies. We toured with Newsies for 2 years and did the Newsies movie that's on the Disney Plus now. Um, I did the same thing. I really dove into the research of him. They were all, like I said, they're all real people, real characters. So all the information is out there, and because they were real and existed, it's up to you and you to do your due diligence to get these people right. Because with a fantastical character, you can kind of make up whatever you want to. You've really got free range to do whatever you want. But with someone historical, you really have to capture the essence of them, and that's what I try to do with Pulitzer. He was, in Newsies, he's a big bad guy, but in real life, he wasn't. He was, very very admirable and very conscious about certain events and certain things. He raised all the money for the pedestal that the Statue of Liberty sits on. He came to this country with absolutely nothing, did not speak the language, penniless, and slept on park benches until he could learn the language, and then became, one of the biggest newspaper men in the country. So when in Newsies, when he finally accepts Jack Kelly and they make an agreement, it's because I believe that he sees himself in Jack Kelly, because it's the same story. Jack Kelly has absolutely nothing and says, I'm going to stand up to the biggest newspaper man in the city and I'm going to fight him. And I think Pulitzer respects him for that. So it's those types of things where when you get into the research, you really discover all these little nuggets, that you can use within the performance.
Performed Newsies with your wife also in the cast.
I did. We've done a lot of shows together. We met in Beauty and the Beast, and we did Little House on the Prairie together, and then we did the Newsies tour together. She's, if you watch the movie, she's my crazy redheaded secretary. And I never turned around to see what was happening because I didn't want to know, because I didn't want to see all the Lucille Ball and Carol Burnett stuff that was going on behind me.
It must be lovely to share shows like that because you can always be together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And for Newsies, we had our little girl with us. She was only, I think, 2 at the time, and we were on the road for 2 years with her.
It's wonderful. Is she also interested in theater yet?
She is. She's 12 now, and she does a lot of theater here herself. She's about to do a Willy Wonka at her school, and she's playing Mrs. Gloop. So she does all the German accents. Yeah.
That's so wonderful. Maybe a new generation.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun. We'll see what happens.
You also did many TV shows.
Hmm.
What was for you the biggest difference in TV and stage acting?
A lot less time. Um, it's the acting the acting for television is very small, and you're in a close up, and you don't move, you don't blink, and you say your lines, and you do the scene to your acting partner and look right into their eyes, and then you move on to the next scene, and you do your partner's close up, you do your close up, you do a two shot, a wide shot, and you're done. It's a lot less time than doing 8 shows a week. Let's just put it that way. And rehearsing for 10 weeks.
What's one of your favorite TV roles? A movie?
Um, I've done a lot of little movies. I have never done a big movie. I'm always the old crusty guy, usually, which is fine because I'm an old crusty guy now, so it's fine. I come in, I yell at people, and then I go home. um, I just did one on the Blacklist. It was pretty fun. Uh, and a couple Law and Orders, all the typical stuff. Usually a military or a CEO or government guy.
I also saw Rosemary and Thyme.
Oh yeah, Rosemary and Thyme. Peter Link's story about, I guess, his twist on the greatest story ever told. Um, yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's all original music, great music. Peter produced Sundown. He wrote Sundown, and he also produced my CD, Northbound Train. Great guy.
What are some of your favorite stage memories?
Favorite stage memories. Well, let me see. I guess there was a time in Beauty and the Beast when my tail fell off, and the entire audience began laughing. We did about 5 minutes worth of improv, and yeah, it was fun. The audience knew it right away, of course, and I looked over to Cogsworth, and Cogsworth is just sitting there, going like this and trying not to laugh and turning red. And then I felt weird. My tail felt weird, and I looked behind me, and it was a long. The tail itself is a long, skinny plastic bone with a hair sleeve on it, and I had caught the hair sleeve on a piece of ivy or something, and it completely unsheathed the tail, so that the hair was caught on the ivy on the set, and my tail was just flapping behind me, this long white plastic bone. And we were vamping, and the band was vamping, and we were improving, and I said, "Oh, she'll never love me now. I'm a chihuahua," and because it looked just like a chihuahua tail, it was fantastic. That was one of my best memories of Beauty and the Beast. That was fun.
There's still a dream role you had or still have?
I would like to do a Sweeney Todd somewhere. Sweeney Todd was my impressionable show as a young actor. I realized that that's the type of theater I wanted to do. That really dark, greasy um, musical, but not. It wasn't frilly. It wasn't light. It was really nasty, and I'd like to do that one day. Yeah, everyone's got their thing. Like there's a generation that was Les Mis, and then there was a generation that was Rent. There was a generation that's Hamilton. That was my generation. That time it premiered in 1979, and I drove up from Maryland to New York 3 times to see it because it was that good.
At the time with George Horn?
I saw George Hearn once, but the first 2 times I saw The Ridge. I saw Angela Lansbury and Lynn Carreyrou.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
One of the cast albums I play a lot because it's just so such a wonderful story, but also the way it's sung and performed. It's even on the album, it's like you hear the show.
Yep. Yep. It's when you see a good production of Sweeney, it is absolutely, hair blowing back experience because it's so beautifully written. I really think it's his masterpiece. I'm not really a Sondheim guy, but I've never heard anything like that.
It's very different from his other work, but it also fits in really well. It's
Yeah,
really amazing show.
it was groundbreaking. I really believe that if that were running today, if that production, the original production, were still running today, it would run for 5, 10 years. They only ran for about a year and a half, I think, something like that.
It's really strange because I think he was ahead of his time because a few years
Yep,
later it really was the time of the Gothic big musicals.
yep, yep, yep. And subsequently, I've gotten to work with a lot of those actors, because you do shows with the same people over and over again, and they were really good. And of course, me being a big fan, I mean, I would grill them every single day about, okay, so what was it like when, the first time you saw the trap door go down and the body comes out? I mean, I asked them everything. It was, yeah.
I think that's another thing that people don't think about it. Actors are fans too and can share so much information with each other. Such a
Yeah, yeah, it's a brotherhood. And uh, I, I just made a video about the 40th anniversary of Three Musketeers. The Three Musketeers was my first Broadway show, and it was such a whirlwind experience because we rehearsed for um, 10, 10 weeks, and then they fired the director, and then we completely put the show in a blender, shook it up, and put it up there, and opened in 10 days after that, and ran for about a week, and that was it. But because we went through that experience, you'll see people on the street today who you went through that with 40 years later, and it's as if a day has not changed because we spent so much time in a big dark theater in 10 out of 12s and tech and all that hell. And everyone just bonded. It was like a family and it became a brotherhood. And that's how, long running shows usually are.
Yes, and it must be special when an experience like this happens that you have all these memories and well, perhaps also always the regrets that the show didn't get the credit it deserved.
Yeah. I mean, Dannii, I'm not going to lie to you, it wasn't a great show. I mean, it probably would not still be running today, but it was a good show. It was fine. It was fine. They didn't know quite what they wanted to do with it. Um, Pirates of Penzance had just premiered, not just premiered, but had been on Broadway a couple of years prior. So they were trying to take a pop opera, is what they called it back then, and take an opera like Fremel's Music, which was very operatic, and make it more poppy, like a Pirates of Penzance. And so it didn't quite work.
That's always a problem, and when people are not sure what they want with the show, you keep switching and switching things. They think that somewhere along the line something always goes wrong. Then
Yep, yep, yep. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. And of course, it's my first Broadway show. I'm playing the third guy from the left in the back in a green suit, right? So I had a ball, had a blast.
is there anything in this interview that hasn't been asked that you want to tell or talk about?
No, I guess that's about it. That's about it. I'm really proud of my 45, 50-year career. And yeah, it's still going. I still do a TV thing every now and then. I had to send in a couple of tapes yesterday. In the Southeast, here in America, the Southeast is a huge television and film market from Virginia through Louisiana. So there's tons of television and film down here. Excuse me. And it's all based out of Atlanta. So, that's kind of the hub. It's called Hollywood East, basically. Everything Marvel shoots in Atlanta. And we still do concerts every now and then. My wife and I like to do concerts to benefit local things around the area, local theater groups, and we're doing one coming up for my daughter's school to raise money for her school. So there you go.
Do you have a message for theater fans?
Thank you for supporting for so long, for so many years. It's been 50 years or so since I began. Thank you so much for supporting and always being so kind and always pay it forward. I've always expressed that to any young people who come to see me at the stage door or whatever, to always pay it forward, always, because that's the circle of life, the nature of our world. Anyway, that's about it.
Thank you so much for your time in this lovely interview.
Thank you, Dannii. I appreciate you.
It was wonderful hearing your memories and thoughts.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That was fun.
Thank you and have a lovely day.
Take care. You too. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Behind the Mirror of Music with Dannii Cohen.